that means no lie. The second thing they taught me, one day I was leaving, I was coming back from my lunch. I walked back into the classroom, I put my lunchbox away. And they were like, Mr. McCullough, was your lunch good? And I was like, yeah. They were like, was it bussin'? And I said, no, I mean, it was, I ate it, I didn't have to take a bus. It was right over there. And they were like, no, was it bussin'? And I was like, yes. And then they all started laughing. So that means good, right? Bussin' means good. All right, good. 2 for 2. The next one that they've taught me is one time I put on a song. Like, sometimes I bring Christian music. I'm a religion teacher. So I'll put some Christian music into my lessons. And the one kid raised his hand. It's usually the same kid that's saying these things to me. And said, Mr. McCullough, this song is mood. And I was just like, dude, what does that mean? And he was like, it means it's really good. Is that true? Mood is a thing? No? Was he lying to me on that one? So we'll go 2 for 3. We'll say that he was lying. Last one. They've told me, they've used the word cringe. Maybe that's how you guys are feeling when I use your slang, cringe. Probably, yeah, a little bit. Cool. All right, so now guys, again, as I said, I'm a teacher. I also am a part of a ministry, evangelization ministry, and my 2 business partners are here with me. So this is Rocco right here. Rocco is working the camera, and this is Dan. He's over here taking the pictures. Now, it's actually kind of funny because these 2 guys are 2 out of my 3 lifelong best friends, and they're in the stories that I'm going to tell you. So they're not at every talk that I give. So for example, this morning, I gave a talk to some people that you probably know, your age, doing the same thing, and I was saying Dan's name and Rocco's name, but they didn't know who they were. So like now you guys know who they are. So that might come into play later on when I tell you the story. So guys, growing up, I was not into my faith. In fact, I used to hate CCD. Do any of you guys like have a lot of fun in CCD? Do you like go there, like are you super excited to go? And then you get there and you're like, yes, CCD. No, it probably doesn't happen, right? It definitely doesn't happen. So for me, guys, I went to school all day, just like you. Went home, I had to do my homework, just like you. Went to soccer practice, probably like maybe some of you. And then I had to go to CCD. So for me, guys, I absolutely hated it. The one thing I liked about CCD, when I was in 4th grade, we had this like really old lady, this like really old woman that was teaching. She was probably like 95 years old, and she had fake teeth, so she had dentures. And when we would misbehave, she would yell at us, and then like her dentures would like fall out. So then we misbehaved on purpose because we would laugh when it was pretty mean looking back on it. I mean, God was probably like really proud of this lady for like trying to teach 4th graders about Christ, and here's little 4th grade me making fun of her because she has fake teeth. Like that was kind of messed up. Maybe I should confess that one day. Nah, probably not. So anyway, guys, CCD and me were not friends. I didn't enjoy it. I was allowed to miss 5 CCDs per year, and guys, I missed all 5. Like I took them. I took every chance I could to not go to CCD. I took it. I just didn't like it. I wasn't interested in it. Like nothing that was ever said in the book, none of the stories ever stood out to me. Learning about Jesus and his apostles, it never stood out to me. I never thought that I needed it. However, I was never an atheist. And this is where I'm going to go teacher mode a little tiny bit. I want to see if one of you knows what this means. Does anybody know what it means to be an atheist? Go ahead. Exactly. And what's your name, buddy? Jacob, cool. So Jacob said it's when you don't believe in any type of God, or you think that God is not real. I was never an atheist. Like I knew that there had to be a God. Like I would think about the solar system. I would think about the planets. I would think about stuff like gravity. Like all this stuff, I was like, there has to be some divine power that made all of this. So I always knew that God was there. I knew he existed. But that's what I left it at. I just left it at that. I didn't talk to him. I didn't pray to him. I didn't try to be holy. I didn't follow his commandments. All I did was, if I needed a good grade on my science test, I would say, like, God, help me on my science test. But me and God were like not very close at all. And guys, as I got older, I had a few things in my life that I kind of worshiped. Now, I didn't like bow down and pray to these things, but I really kind of worshiped them. Like I should have been giving like my attention to God, but my attention was in these 4 areas. The first area that my attention was in at the time, when I was in high school, it was the girl that I was dating. So I was in like a long relationship. And guys, when I was in high school, I was really nerdy. And like I might still be nerdy. I probably am still a nerd. But I was really nerdy in high school. I had like long hair. I had like acne. I was in the engineering academy. I was on the tennis team. I like to talk about like circuit boards and stuff like that. So like I was pretty nerdy. And the girl that I was dating was like a really popular, like cute girl. So what I did is I kind of put my value in that, if that makes any sense. And guys, that's a recipe for disaster. If you put like your self-worth into what someone else thinks of you, that's a bad idea. We should draw our self-worth from God. Like knowing that God loves us, that God cares for us, that's all the self-worth that we need. I didn't know that at the time. So all my self-worth was in this girl. On top of that, I had three, and still have, three really good friends. And two of them are here. So again, this is Rocco and Dan. So now guys, I've been friends with them, with Rocco since I was 9. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am now, but since I was 9. And with Dan since I was probably about like maybe 12. So these guys have been my lifelong best friends, and I really see them as like my brothers. So I had them with me too, and there's another one named Ryan. Ryan lives in Venezuela now, but so he's a part of the story a lot. So I had the girlfriend, I had my 3 best friends, and everything was great. On top of that, guys, I had a car, because like when you're 17 and you have a car, that's big. Like so I was like cool, because I would drive as much as I wanted to, wherever I wanted. And so I really liked my car a lot. Then the last thing that I kind of worshipped was my job. Does anyone know where Scotland Run golf course is? Yeah? Cool. Does anybody play golf? It's not really a popular. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so I used to work at Scotland Run golf course for a long, long time. Now, when I was 17, it was the best. Like showing up, it's not hard, walk home with cash in my pocket. It was a really good job. So guys, I looked at my life, to sum all this up. I looked at my life and I was like, things are pretty good. I was like, I got all this stuff here. I remember thinking like, I don't need God. I remember thinking like God was maybe for old people or people who were maybe really sick and about to die. I looked at my life, I was like, I got all these awesome things. I'm not old, I'm not sick. I have all this all in front of me. I don't need them. So what happened to me, guys, is within the course of maybe 2 weeks, all those things that I mentioned totally crumbled. Totally crumbled, like just like that. And I'm gonna tell you the details of these events that transpired. Because a little preview, if these events that I'm about to tell you, if they didn't transpire, I don't think I'd be standing right here. Like I wouldn't be a confirmation speaker. I wouldn't be a religion teacher. I definitely wouldn't be going to mass on Sundays. So all these things like really kind of opened my eyes and made me feel woke. That's another slang that I learned. Yeah, so it made me feel woke. Thanks for laughing. So it made me feel woke. So here's the first thing that happened. The first thing that started to crumble was actually my friends. So now, guys, when we were in high school, we didn't do the things that typical high schoolers did. When you guys are, maybe not when you're freshmen, maybe when you're juniors and seniors, that's when you'll start to hear people telling stories of going to all kinds of parties. And these are not birthday parties. They're parties where people's parents aren't home. There's parties where alcohol is involved. There's parties where maybe even drugs are involved. And guys, it's something that high school people start to struggle with. Like they're finding out their identity, they want to try these things, they're curious. And when they do this, it's actually really funny. I remember being a junior and a senior. Whenever people brag about these things, and they will, I don't know why, but they always do it in like a really weird voice. Like for example, I'd be in homeroom on Monday morning, and this like really popular kid would be like, yo, I was at Kyle's house and I had like 17 beers. And everyone's like, no way. So I don't know why they talk in that voice, but they do. So my friends and I, like we all saw those things, we all heard those conversations, and we were just like, like we don't need that stuff. Like we're not gonna do that stuff. Now, we weren't avoiding it because of Christ, right? Like I wasn't staying away from parties because of my relationship with God. I was staying away from parties just because I didn't want to get involved in it, and neither did my friends. Neither did Dan, neither did Rock, and neither did Ryan. So as we got a little bit older, we're maybe 18, 19 now, what do you think Ryan started to do? He started to go to parties. So he would go to these parties, and he would do all kinds of bad things, and we felt like we were losing him. So he went away to college, and he would come home, and when he would come home, we were like, oh yeah, like Ryan's home from college, like let's play basketball, because Rocco had a court in his backyard. It was so much fun. And we would film it. We were like super nerds again. Anyway, so we would play basketball. Like that was our fun, not going to parties. So Ryan started to skip playing basketball with us, which was like sacred, and he started to go to these parties. And guys, I remember I felt like I lost him. I was like, that's it. I felt betrayed. I was like, Ryan's gone. I was like, he's going down this dark path, and we can just forget about him, and he's a goner. But I was like, okay, so Ryan's kind of fading. But I still have Dan, and I still have Rock, and I still have the girlfriends. Like, okay, things are all right. So here's what happens next. Dan, right here, started to get close to God. He started to go to Mass. He started to hang out with a priest, and he started to teach CCD. And I remember thinking, like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? I was like, why are you doing all these holy things? And I was kind of freaked out about it. But now, because I've known Dan for years and years and years, I was open, I was accepting. So I remember, like, me and Dan would hang out, and like I was used to talking about the Flyers or the 76ers or the Eagles, and Dan suddenly wanted to talk about Saints. And I was like, dude, like, are you okay? And so I just thought that it was like really weird. Now, he got Rocco involved a little bit too, but I'll get to that in a second. So now, and obviously Dan's not doing anything wrong. Like, Dan's making a decision to follow God, and I supported him, but I wanted to keep it like there. I was like, you do you, Dan, I'm gonna do me over here. So now Ryan was partying, Dan's getting close to God, and in a weird way, I felt like he was gone because of that, which like kind of doesn't make sense, but that's what I felt. I felt like Dan was leaving. And now it gets a little bit more serious with Rock. Rock was starting to go to Mass too. Rock actually volunteered to teach CCD as well with Dan. And Rock would go to Mass, but not because he wanted to be close to God. He would go to Mass because he's really Italian, and like he's kind of obsessed with being Italian. So he would wear like a pinstripe suit, and he would like slick his hair back, and he would like put on a watch and like act like he was like in the mafia or something. And like that's why he went to Mass. And I mean, I guess God used it because whatever. But so it wasn't because he wanted to like love God or something. So now Rocco's going to Mass, and now Rocco sees something. He notices that I'm not getting involved with it. And he's noticing that it's making him happy, getting close to Christ. He notices that I'm not getting involved. He notices that Ryan is really not getting involved. So Rocco says a prayer one night. He goes to sleep, and right before he falls asleep, he gets down on his knees, and he puts his hands together, and he says this prayer, very short, very simple prayer. He said, Lord, use me as an instrument to get my friends, Anthony and Ryan, closer to you. So, Lord, use me as an instrument to get my friends, Anthony and Ryan, closer to you. So he finishes the prayer, and he goes to sleep. He wakes up that night, probably at what, like maybe 4 or 5 in the morning or something like that, Rock, like very early in the morning. And guys, he couldn't breathe. His lung collapsed. So his lungs spontaneously collapsed out of nowhere. It was actually called spontaneous pneumothorax. He had like these little pockets of air in his lungs, and one of them popped, and you kind of need your lungs to breathe. So he could have died. If he would have waited a little bit longer to go to the hospital, he said he felt like he just got done running a marathon. Like he couldn't breathe, and he was kind of scared. So his mom rushed him to the hospital. So his mom calls me, and she's upset. And she's like, Anthony, like Rocco's going to the hospital. His lung collapsed. He can't breathe. We don't know what's going to happen. Like he might pass away. So now I'm thinking, okay, so Ryan's partying, Dan's getting close to God, and Rocco's like about to die. And spoiler alert, like he didn't die. Like he's right there. So if you guys didn't know that he was here, it's like it's suspenseful, but he's right there. So he didn't die. Thanks be to God, literally. So anyway, I'm like, okay, so my 3 friends are kind of falling away, but at least I still have the girlfriend. At least I can still like rely on her and do that. So guys, this is probably the worst one of all. That's why I saved it like for the end. And also it's because that's how it's transpired. So I was thinking, okay, I still have the girlfriend and I still have the job. And here's another little fact. We worked together. So we worked at the same golf course. So, I would see her at work. And I'm going to oversimplify this part of the story because you don't need like a ton of details. So she basically came up to me, like in the midst of all this is happening. Like I feel like I'm losing my friends. She comes up to me and she says, Anthony, I don't like you anymore, and I like your boss now. So she started dating my boss. So then I had to go to work, and there was the girl that I was with for like 3 years. Like, we went to proms together. Like, she would have dinner at my family's house, stuff like that. And now she's dating my boss at work. And it was really, really painful. It's hilarious now, because it doesn't hurt me right now. But at the time, it was not hilarious at all. So now, guys, that crumbled too. And that was a double whammy. Because remember I said I really liked my job, but now I didn't like my job anymore. So all those things, and guys, the icing on the cake, remember I said I really liked my car? What do you think happened to my car? It exploded. It didn't explode, but it broke down. So then my car was gone too. Now guys, all of these things, all these crazy events transpired, and it really woke me up. It really changed my mindset. It actually caused me to say the very first prayer that I've ever said in my entire life. Now guys, I went through CCD. I got my confirmation. So like I would say like the Our Father. Do you guys know the Our Father? I'm not going to ask you to say. Good, you know the Our Father? I would say the Hail Mary. You know the Hail Mary? Good. And the Glory Be. But that was it. Do you guys think I ever meant it? Like if I had to pray the Hail Mary in CCD, do you think I was like closing my eyes and like asking like Mary to like take this intention? No. I was just like mumbling words. Kind of like the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you guys still say the pledge? Yeah, it's like you're not thinking about what you say, you just say it. So I said my first honest prayer ever. I remember looking up at the night sky because I knew nothing about God. I used to think that God was like the stars or the universe or something. So I looked up at the night sky. I said a very short, very simple, very honest prayer, and it was the first prayer that I ever meant in my entire life. I looked up and I said, God, I get it, and I'm going to follow you. And I don't know where it came. I didn't know where it came from. Like, I didn't ask to say that prayer. It wasn't planned. I didn't think when I get home I'm going to pray to God. No, it just happened. Like, it was a very spontaneous prayer. Just kind of poured out of. I maybe even said it out loud because I was alone. And I just said this prayer to God. And guys, right after I said that prayer, I was full of like an intense, intense peace. In the middle of all this suffering, I felt like God was telling me like he's got me, that he's there for me. And even though my life is kind of crazy right now, even though all these things are going wild, that God's right there for me. So that night, guys, I kid you not, that night, I go to sleep, and I had a dream. Now, dreams, sometimes we can have crazy dreams because we ate Doritos before we went to bed, and sometimes we have dreams that are like from God. So I went to sleep that night, and I had a dream. And in my dream, I was in my room, and I remember looking at the window in my room. So I look at the window, and all of a sudden, I see an image of Jesus at this window. Now, have you guys ever seen the Sacred Heart image of Jesus? It's like where one hand is pointing to his heart, and like his other hand is up like this. You've seen that? Yeah. So that image, now in my real room at the time, that image was not there. Like, I didn't have a picture of Jesus in my room. So, and then I was sleeping, and I look at the window, and there was a big, big picture of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. He wasn't alive. He wasn't like moving or like chasing me. But when I saw that in my dream, guys, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. You know that nightmare feeling where if like someone's chasing you in like a dream and like you're trying to run away and you feel like you're running and you're getting nowhere? That's how I felt. I was like, I need to get away from this picture. And I remember like hiding like in my room, again, all in my dream. But do you guys think Jesus was like gonna yell at me or something? Do you think he was coming to like condemn me? Or I think he was showing me right there a very gentle invitation. I think he was saying, Anthony, like, here I am. Again, I got you. Just come follow me and everything's gonna be okay. So now I wake up the next day and I'm like, this is weird. I was like, I'm starting to feel really good. I'm starting to think about God. I'm starting to realize what actually matters and what doesn't. And I was noticing that I was really happy, really peaceful. So a couple days go by, and I go to the mailbox, and I open it up, and I see there's a flyer there. And the flyer says, Catholic young adults, free food on Monday night. And I was like, okay, I love free food. So, and it was weird, I was thinking about it, because it was like a youth group meeting, or a young adult meeting. Now guys, remember what I said about God. Do you think that's something I would have done? Like, do you think I would naturally go to a young adult meeting about God? No. But for some reason, I remember looking at this flyer, and like something was compelling me towards it. It may have just been the free food, or it may have been Christ working behind that. So I look at the flyer, and then I grab my phone, and I texted my friends. Now, at this point, Rocco's out of the hospital, and Dan is still getting close to God. And what happened with Ryan, guys, is that when Rocco went into the hospital, on that same exact day, remember he said that prayer to use him as an instrument to get us closer to God? On that same day that his lung collapsed, Ryan's grandmother passed away, and one of his best friends from college that he would party with passed away from an overdose. So that really made Ryan wake up. So because he saw the finality of life, he saw how fragile life is, and also it made Ryan realize what's important. So do you guys think Ryan went back to partying after that? No, not really. So he went, and then so Ryan started to follow this stuff with us as well. So I texted my friends, and this is before group chats. This was before like on iMessage and stuff like that. So I had to text them each individually on my flip phone. And I said, guys, are you going to this young adult meeting? And they were like, oh yeah, we're going. And guys, that's not something we normally would do. So I showed up to this meeting. I was kind of scared. The woman gave me a hug, and I was like, lady, don't touch me. But then she was just trying to like show me the love of Christ. And I asked her, I was like, where's the food? Because like that's the main reason I was there. So we ate the food, and guys, then we sat in a circle. Now, I don't know if any of you have like social anxiety, but sitting in a circle can be like torture for some people. Because what do you think is going to happen like when you're sitting in a circle? You're going to have to talk. Like it's going to be your turn, and you're going to have to say something. So it was going down the line, each person. And this person was saying like, yeah, my name's Jeff. I've been following Christ ever since I was 5 years old. Like my family goes to Mass every Sunday. I know all about the saints. And all these people like looked like they knew what they were doing. And I knew nothing. I knew nothing about God. So when it was my turn, I was tempted to lie so I could be fit in. But something told me like, no, just be honest, just tell the truth. So it got to my turn, and I said, hi guys, like I'm Anthony, and I don't know anything about God, but I would like for that to change. And the people like were really receptive of it. They actually did like one of those slow clap things, like if you guys have ever seen like those sports movies. They didn't do that, but they accepted me right off the bat. Now I started to notice something, guys. I started to notice that these people that were trying to follow Christ were totally normal. They were totally normal. I used to think that if someone cared about God, that they had to be like super like weird. Like maybe they would just walk around with their hands like this, and they wouldn't do anything fun, and they wouldn't watch TV, and they would just be like kind of like a stick in the mud or something like that, like not fun at all. It wasn't true. These people were totally normal. We would talk about playing Madden on Xbox. We would talk about playing Call of Duty. Then we would talk about Christ, and then we would go play basketball. Like it was perfect balance. And I was realizing that like I was getting really happy. I didn't need all this extra stuff to be happy. All I needed was Christ. And guys, God works in really awesome ways, and he ended up making sure that my friends, that they didn't leave. Like, so they're still here, and now we run this ministry together. And guys, I encourage you that if you are ever afraid of following God or taking a step closer to him, I encourage you to just do it. Just take that extra little step and get closer to him, because he will reward you in ways that you would never believe or never expect. If you're sitting here, you might be thinking like, this stuff isn't for me. Like, yeah, like it's awesome you're talking about Christ, but everything that I'm saying, maybe it's not gonna happen to you, but guys, it will. Give him a little tiny bit and he will reward you like crazy. Now guys, again, if all these events didn't happen, I wouldn't be standing here. Like I wouldn't be talking about God. I wouldn't be as happy as I am today, and I definitely want to be running a ministry with these two guys. So God kind of stepped in, he kept everything safe, and he brought me all this joy, which is a fruit that I received from confirmation. And now I can't imagine my life without it. So guys, I'm going to take a little pause. So do you guys have, because we have a ministry that we run, do you guys have your cell phones with you? I want to do like a little contest. I have a St. Joseph prayer card right here, and I know this is like a really like valuable thing. It's actually the year of St. Joseph. Like this is his year, so maybe he's like reaching out to you from heaven. So if you guys want to take out your cell phones and go to Instagram, and if you follow JMJ Missions, JMJ stands for Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I'm going to pick a random person. Actually, I'm going to let Dan pick the random person, and then I'm going to give you the St. Joseph card. And also, one of you might be our 1,000th follower, because we're like super close. So go ahead, guys, do that now. Follow JMJ Missions, and then I'll let Dan pick a random winner to be the winner of the St. Joseph card. Yeah, sure. Give you another minute. It's JMJ Missions if you have a cell phone. Yeah. If you want extra credit, we have TikTok too, if you want to follow us on TikTok too. Yeah. Yeah. And we also have YouTube, but you can do that on your own time. Follow us on YouTube. All right, Dan, why don't you take a random person? Hadley. Is that you? Awesome. So Hadley, St. Joseph is reaching out to you. Cool. And Dan, did we hit 1,000 followers?
We are at like 994.
Okay, nice. All right, cool. All right, guys, so here comes the next part of my talk. That was my conversion. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about confirmation. So you guys were probably supposed to make this sacrament a little while ago. Did COVID mess everything up for you? That's why it kind of got pushed back. Yeah, for sure. So it's probably been a while since you've had a religious education. Probably not at all last year, right? Because you guys were technically done with it, right? So probably no CCD at all last year. So it's definitely been a while. Now, you will get 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit at confirmation. And I'm going to tell you some of them. I'm going to run down the list real quick, and then I'm going to pick a few to really highlight and really focus and give you a few ways of how you can practice and live out these gifts. So the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, they are fear of the Lord, counsel, wisdom, piety, fortitude, understanding, and knowledge. So you've probably heard that before in class. I want to pick a few of my favorites just so they really like kind of sink into your mind here. The first one I want to talk about is fear of the Lord. Now guys, that kind of sounds like when I had that dream. Like I was afraid of God, like I thought he was going to punish me. Do you think that that's what it is though? Like do you think God wants us to be afraid of him? Definitely not. So fear of the Lord is when you love God so much that you're afraid of offending him. Like because you care about him so deeply that offending him would be the last thing that you would do. And how do we offend him? We offend him every time that we sin. So if you have fear of the Lord, you will severely cut back on the amount of sins that you commit because you love God and you don't want to hurt his feelings. I want to pick a couple of you as my little guinea pigs. So what's your name? Yeah. Alexis? Cool. So Alexis, pick a random person, like any person, like to be like your friend in this scenario. Hadley. Okay, cool. So now, did you guys know each other before this? Yeah. So are some of you like total strangers, or most of you know each other? Cool. So we have Alexis and Hadley. Now, let's say they've been lifelong best friends, like ever since like kindergarten, been hanging out all the time, things like that. So now, when Alexis wakes up, do you guys think she says, how could I really offend Hadley today? Like, how could I just like get under her skin and like make her mad? No. Do you think Alexis wants to offend Hadley? Like, do you want to offend your friends? Do you want to make them? Absolutely not. And where is that coming from? That's coming from a care. It's coming from the friendship that you guys have, and you don't want to lose that. So take that same situation and apply it to God. It's when we love him so much that we wouldn't dare hurt his feelings through sin. The next one I want to talk about is fortitude. Fortitude is pretty cool. There's a root word here. The root word in fortitude is fort. When you hear fort, it sounds like something really strong, right? I'm going to take more guinea pigs here. Have any of you ever gone apple picking? Yeah, cool. I think there's like one that's like not too far away. I went a couple years ago. I picked like a ton of apples, and then I made like an apple pie. It tasted really good. Anyway, so if you're apple picking, I'm going to actually, because you raised your hand, I'm going to use you as the guinea pig. What's your name? Victoria? Cool. So let's say Victoria is apple picking. And in this scenario, she's going to actually be like the devil, like in this scenario. So Victoria, AKA like the devil, is walking around this apple field looking for apples to pick. Now, guys, which apples are the easiest ones to grab? The ones that are like where on the tree? Are they like really high or are they like really low? Really low, exactly. So the ones that are really low, who wants to be a low-hanging apple? How about, what's your name? Yeah. Vincent? Cool. So let's say Vincent, he is a low-hanging apple. So this means, guys, that he has no fortitude. Fortitude is the strength to avoid sin, the strength to resist the temptations that come from the devil. So Vincent's got no fortitude. So he's super low on this tree. Victoria comes walking by. Does Victoria even have to try to get him to fall? No. He's going to fall right away. It's going to be a piece of cake. Now, let's say I want to call on you with the Yankees hat. Tyler? Cool. Now, let's say Tyler does have fortitude. Tyler has a lot of strength to avoid sin. Now, Tyler's also an apple on the tree, but he's really high up. He's really high up on a tree because he has fortitude. Now, does this mean that Victoria can't go get him? No. Victoria can still go get him, but she has to give a lot more effort. She might need a ladder. She might need like a step stool. It's going to be a lot harder to get Tyler to fall than it would be for Vincent to fall because Tyler has more fortitude. So guys, you want to be the apple that's high on the tree. You want to have that fortitude. You don't want to make it easy for the devil to get you to fall. You want to make it have to be a really tough temptation in order for you to sin. You can also think of it this way. If someone was going to break into your house, like let's say you knew someone was going to break into your house, would you leave the door unlocked and be like, they're going to break in anyway? No, you would still lock the door, right? Like you want to make it as hard as possible to get people to do these things that are not good. So get fortitude, get fear of the Lord, and get fortitude into your soul. The next one I want to tell you about is understanding. Understanding kind of helps you in two ways. Understanding helps you to understand the things about God that are complicated. It also helps you to understand each other. So something that's kind of confusing for a lot of people, actually, is the Blessed Trinity. So again, I'm going to go teacher mode. Does anyone know who are the three persons of the Blessed Trinity? I'll be impressed. I want to call. Can I call? Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Now let me ask you this, guys. Are these three different people? No. Who said no? Oh, good job, Victoria. Good. So Victoria is not the devil after all. I'm just kidding. So they're not three different people. It's three persons in one God. But guys, that's hard to understand. It's like God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, but they're not three different things. They're all one and the same being. It's not easy to understand. When you have the gift of understanding, it helps a little bit to comprehend how these things work. St. Francis of Assisi said that trying to fully understand that is like trying to fit the ocean into a paper cup. You get a little bit in there, we can have a little bit of knowledge about that, but we won't fully understand it until we get to heaven. So understanding helps you understand the things about God and also each other. I want to pick on more volunteers. So what's your name here with the Clearview shirt on? Is it Arthur? Parker. Cool. So we have Parker here. Now, Parker, what's like your all-time favorite breakfast food? Let's say it's like Saturday morning in the summertime. Like, what's your favorite breakfast? Waffles. Good choice. So let's say, Parker, do you have any siblings? Yeah, okay, cool. So let's say it's like a school day, Maybe it's like a rainy Monday morning. Parker wakes up, he's so excited to eat these waffles, and he finds out that all his brothers and sisters ate all the waffles. You walk out to your bus stop for school, and like a car drives by and just splashes you with water, and you're totally soaked. You show up to science class, and you have a quiz where you have to name every element on the periodic table, and you get a 0. So you're having a really bad day. And let's say you sit down next to your friend in math class. So I want to pick on you. What's your name? Joseph, cool. So Parker sits next to Joseph, and again, they're friends. And now maybe Parker just kind of loses his patience. Maybe he he snaps on Joseph a little tiny bit. Maybe he calls him a name. He just has no patience for him. If Joseph has understanding, that's going to help out this friendship a lot. Joseph's going to know, like, hey, he didn't have his waffles. He got a 0 in the periodic table quiz. Now, does that make Parker's actions okay? No, not really. Like, Parker still has to be accountable for his actions. But if Joseph has understanding, which is what he'll get at the Holy Spirit, the gifts of the Holy Spirit, then he'll be able to kind of just peacefully go through that and maintain the friendship. So guys, these gifts are something that you will get. So once you get them, you have to work on them and help them grow. So I have about 7 minutes left. So guys, I want to switch gears and talk about modern day miracles. Hopefully I have time to tell you 2 stories, 2 modern day miracles of saints that I really like. Have you guys ever heard of the saint? Saint John Paul II. He used to be the Pope. Yeah, you have? Cool. Does anyone know who is the Pope right now? The current Pope. Yeah, what's your name? It's Pope Francis. Cool. And what's your name? Anna? Cool. So Pope Francis is our current Pope. Before him was Pope Benedict XVI, and before him was Pope John Paul II. He was the youngest Pope ever. He became Pope at age 58, which might sound like super old to you guys, but that's really young in the eyes of the Pope world. And guys, his life was really, really hard. Remember how I told you I had like a tough 2 weeks? His life was a lot harder than that. Guys, by the time he was 19 years old, every single member of his family died when he was 19 years old. When he was born, he had a brother and a sister, mom and a dad. When he was 3 years old, the brother died. When he was 8, his sister died. When he was 12, he got home from school one day, probably in 6th grade, and his mom died. And it was just him and his dad from the time that he was 12 all the way up until he was 19. So when he was 19, his dad died. And he was totally alone. Now guys, I don't know about you, but if something like that happened to me, I would get really angry at God. I would get like bitter. I'd be like, God, like, how could you do this to me? Like, why would you take so many people that I love? Do you think that's what he did? Do you think that was his attitude? No. He actually got closer to God. In his suffering, anything hard that he went through, he got closer to God through it. So he became a priest, and then a bishop, and then a cardinal, and then the Pope. And he was a really cool Pope. He was a hipster Pope, as they say. Guys, he used to sneak out of the Vatican to go skiing. Like, he would put on like a black hoodie, put up the hood, put on sunglasses, and he would sneak out of the Vatican in Rome so he could go skiing in the Italian Alps. So it was pretty cool. Let me tell you the favorite miracle that I ever heard about him. Guys, he knew 11 languages fluently. I barely know English fluently. He knew 11 languages fluently. So he would travel all around the world. There's 197 countries in the world. He visited, I think, 175 out of those 197. He was always, always traveling because he was the Pope for the whole world. So he had a trip planned to Mexico. And guys, now in Mexico, there was a family. They had a mom and a dad and a 5-year-old boy. This 5-year-old boy had brain cancer, and it was terminal. Now, if you don't know what terminal means, that's when the cancer basically has won, and no, it will not respond to any treatment, and the person will pass away. It's just a matter of time. Like, it's probably going to happen soon. There's nothing else they can do, and what they kind of focus on is making the person comfortable until they pass away. So a 5-year-old boy with brain cancer and terminal brain cancer. Now, the mom was a really devout Catholic. She prayed every day, Mass every day, especially on Sundays, the Rosary, studied the lives of the saints, really, really holy woman. The dad was, what's that word called when you don't believe in God again? We talked about it a second ago. Yeah, the dad was an atheist. So the mom was super Catholic, dad was an atheist, but he was a nice guy. And the 5-year-old son who has brain cancer. Now, they found out that John Paul II was traveling to Mexico City. Now, this was hours away from where they lived. So the mom kept on asking, please, can we take our son to the airport? Maybe we'll see John Paul II. Who knows? Do you guys think the dad wanted any part of that? No. The dad, first of all, the dad doesn't care about John Paul II because he's an atheist. Second of all, their son is sick, and that's a long car ride for a sick son. So the dad was like, no way, we're not taking him to Mexico City. Do you think the mom gave up? No, the mom kept on asking. And finally the dad agreed, and they went to the airport. Now, when they get to the airport, John Paul II's plane lands, And have you guys ever seen like in movies in like olden days when people get off the planes, like they used to be outside? Has that ever happened to you? It happened to me once in my life where I got off the plane and I was outside. It was like the coolest feeling ever. So he gets off the plane and he's outside. Now all these like Secret Service agents are with him, and let's say for the sake of the story that he was supposed to go this way. Gets off the plane, John Paul II is supposed to go this way, and everyone is expecting him to go this way. He gets off the plane, he kind of stops, he looks around, and he went the opposite direction. Like he just started going away from where he was supposed to go. Now he said himself that he didn't really even know what he was doing or where he was going. And what happened is he started to walk through the crowd. So there's thousands of people there waiting for him. He's walking through the crowd. He gets right up to that family and he stops. Now because he spoke 11 languages, the mom was able to communicate with him in Spanish, and he understood because he was from Poland. So she tells him the situation. She says, "This is my son, he's 5 years old, he has brain cancer, can you please pray for him?" John Paul II agrees, of course, and John Paul II, just for about maybe 5 or 10 seconds, takes a look down at the boy, puts his hand on top of his head, not very long, and the prayer that he said wasn't even out loud. He kept it internal. Said a 5 or 10-second prayer internally for this boy, put his hand on his head, and when he was done, he gave the little boy a hug, gave the mom a hug, gave the dad a hug, then he went back on his way. He went where he was supposed to go. The boy looks up at the mom and said, "Mom, I'm hungry." And she was like, what do you mean you're hungry? Like, you haven't eaten in like 2 months. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm hungry." Now guys, think about this. Do you know that feeling like when you're sick, how like you lose your appetite? Even if you have a sore throat, like you don't want to eat. Stuff like if you're ill, eating just like makes you feel even worse. So imagine how much worse that is for someone going through chemotherapy and cancer. So he had no appetite. This kid would never eat. He was very thin, and at 5 years old, because he couldn't eat because of all the medicine, all the treatment, looks up at his mom and says, "I'm hungry." And they're like, "Okay." And he was like, "Yeah, I want chicken." So they were like, "All right, let's get you some chicken." They took him to a restaurant, and this kid just started tanking chicken fingers and french fries and like sodas. And he was just putting all this food down, and he felt totally fine. Like he wasn't getting nauseous. He was eating like crazy like he used to. So the next day, they had to take this boy in for his normal checkups, his normal procedures, and normal routines. Guys, the doctors found that there was absolutely zero trace of the cancer, that it was completely gone, completely gone. And this is documented and proven by the doctors that were there. Now guys, in my opinion, I think that was because of John Paul II's little 5 to 10-second prayer that he said. So God did that miracle through John Paul II. John Paul II gets like the assist. Think of like an alley-oop in basketball, like Simmons to Embiid. But that's kind of how that happened. So let's pretend that we're a doctor. Like let's say you were a doctor that helped cancer patients, and like that was your life's mission. It's a beautiful, beautiful job. Wouldn't like a small part of you like want to take credit? Like if that was you? Like, "Oh yeah, like that was my medicine that healed him. It was my treatment that healed him." Like wouldn't that be natural to want to claim that? Do you guys think any of them claimed that? No. None of the doctors claimed that in any way, shape, or form. They all attested to the fact that there was nothing they could have done and that this was 100% divine intervention from God. And guys, this is documented. Like you don't even need faith to understand this. You don't even need faith to believe this. This is just like proof and like evidence. So that's my favorite miracle from John Paul II. And for me, guys, that kind of proves that God is real. And if he's real, there's nothing that's more important. So guys, I want you to know that I'm going to be praying for you. Confirmation is a really big sacrament coming up. I'm definitely going to be praying for you. I ask that you guys pray for me too. Pray for my friends as we're a part of JMJ Missions and we try to evangelize through social media. So I'm going to wish you guys all the best, and that's the end of my talk, guys. So thanks for listening.